How can anyone oppose seniors getting free vision or dental or paid family leave, which every other Western country has? Do you oppose those things?
MSNBC's Mehdi Hasan got to interview Joe Lieberman, self-described centrist, in reality corporate hack Joe Lieberman, former Democratic senator turned independent, all in the effort to do bidding for massive corporations, and actually hammered him on some fantastic points here, asking some of the questions that I would definitely ask any so-called or self-described centrist. So let's start with, I have two clips here. Let's start with this one, and this is a question anyone who knows anything about Lieberman or any so-called moderate or centrist would love to ask.
Your new book is called The Centrist Solution. You were a famous quote-unquote centrist senator. And yet my issue with that word is that centrist doesn't necessarily reflect the American people's views. I want to pull up some polling. Here are some of the measures in that Build Back Better bill that quote-unquote centrists like Manchin and Sinema want to get rid of. Here's how popular they are. Hugely popular across the spectrum. 83% support, 84% support, 73% support. And yet you and Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema oppose many of those measures that the American people overwhelmingly support. So the question is, how in the world does that make you a centrist? Surely based on that polling, Bernie Sanders is closer to the center of American politics and public opinion than you are or Joe Manchin is.
Yeah, I don't think so, but it's a great question. So first, let me define centrist as I mean it. It's not to me the same thing as being a moderate. Moderation, liberalism, conservatism, those are ideologies. Centrism is a strategy and a process, and it means that people who are all those other things, Democrats, Republicans, left, right, center, are willing on a given matter to come to the center, come to a common place, meet with each other, and try to find a solution that they can agree on, or at least enough of them can, that can be enacted in the law. That's what I write in my book. I give examples of things across a wide array: environmental protection, a repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, Homeland Security, and a balanced budget. When it took members of both parties to get it done, that's not happening enough now. We could probably get some of those good things done on that list if people, instead of trying to push it through, would sit down and talk to each other and agree on what's best. So, yeah.
All right, I'll get to the follow-up. Don't worry. Second clip is also really good. But this is a question, and the way he sets it up here, Mehdi Hasan, the way he sets this question up is exactly how I would do it. Point to polling, showing him that the vast majority of people agree with these progressive policies. So how can you be a centrist and be against the vast majority of Americans? Mehdi Hasan is correct to point out that Bernie Sanders is actually where the center of the country is. But Lieberman sort of skirts the question by claiming that, oh, centrism is more about trying to get a deal done as opposed to an ideology. In the process, he calls being a moderate an ideology. Being a moderate is not an ideology. Being a corporate hack, I guess, is an ideology. Neoliberalism, ideology. But being a centrist or a moderate, which are essentially interchangeable, but the way he describes them there, he thinks differently. But those are not ideologies. But he gets, like, this is so stupid because it shows you, it exposes how phony these people are. Lieberman's solution there is, well, all you have to do is sit down and talk to them. If instead of trying to push things through, all you got to do is sit down and talk to them. Yes, Joe Manchin, who makes $500,000 a year personally from the coal industry, all you got to do is sit down and talk to him to make him support getting rid of coal. That's all you got to do is make the right argument. If you make the right argument, Joe Manchin, who is corrupt with coal money, is going to come to your side. Kirsten Sinema takes $100,000 in big pharma money. Just so happens she's against lower prescription drug prices. All you got to do is sit down and talk to Kirsten Sinema, make the right argument to her. Just, come, don't be mean, sit her down, just talk to her. And she's going to disregard all that money she got from Big Pharma to support lower prescription drug prices. Something that she supported herself years ago until she began taking that money. It's so dishonest. That's obviously not going to work. Now, this is where we get to the corporate influence on policy. And yes, Mehdi Hasan gets into that as well.
How can anyone oppose seniors getting free vision or dental or paid family leave, which every other Western country has? Do you oppose those things?
No, so that's what I was going to say about that polling. If you ask people, they are in favor of these things, of course, they seem good, they're right. I'd like to do them all, but we can't afford them all. And we got to make sure that the programs are constructed in a way that will work.
The Senate is in the middle of passing a $750 billion defense bill, which is higher than what Biden asked for, higher than what Trump asked for. We always have money for defense, not for social measures. And I think other people would say, you know, there's a lot of corporations, a lot of rich people who are lobbying against this bill. They don't want this bill because it's going to hurt them. And one thing I should raise here in the context of Build Back Better is your support for No Labels. This is the self-styled, bipartisan, centrist political group. You devote a chapter of your new book to praising its work. No Labels, though, is funded, a lot of critics would say, by the kind of asset managers, hedge funds, private equity groups, who of course don't want the higher taxes that come with Build Back Better. Democratic Congressman Mark Pocan says he was duped by No Labels when he was first elected to the House in 2018. He says, quote, No Labels is a centrist corporate organization working against Democrats with dark, anonymous money to advance power for special interests, period. What's your response to that?
Wow. Well, I can tell you, I've been involved in No Labels since I left the Senate. And I've been at meetings with some of the people who fund the group and members of Congress coming through. And I must say that I've never heard one of the business people there talk to one of the members of the Congress about their business taxes, their personal taxes. If you can believe it, and I'm just telling you what I've heard, these people are really concerned about the future of the country because nobody in Washington is working together. Mostly, No Labels is about process, not about policy. We work to elect.
But Joe Lieberman, surely I have to jump in with respect. Surely you're not telling us that all of these millionaires and billionaires who give money to these groups and its PACs are not interested in lower taxes and are not openly lobbying against a tax on billionaires or higher taxes on corporations. Come on, we both know that's the case.
I'm sure some of them are. I'm just telling you, I've never seen it happen in No Labels.
My God. And Lieberman just goes on to bullshit even further for the next couple minutes. It's all a performance. This reminded me a lot of when TYT interviewed Joe Manchin, when Cenk interviewed Joe Manchin. And he asked him about the big donor money. And Manchin said, I don't know where my donor money comes from. I have no idea who gives me money. Like, as if we're supposed to believe that. As if we're supposed to believe these big donors at No Labels, these special interests, don't talk about their taxes. As if they don't talk about the special interests behind them and those interests and what they want to see pushed through or not pushed through, in the sense like a big pharma. Obviously, I'm sure part of that money there at No Labels does not want to see their prescription drug prices lowered. So this is clearly the whole point of the group. Like, they're just giving billions of money, of dollars, just so that Democrats and the GOP can work together. Yeah, work together in their best interests. It's so dishonest. But good on Mehdi Hasan here for keeping it together through this interview. I mean, there are a number of times. It's about 10 minutes long. I'll link to it below the video. You can watch the whole thing. A number of times where I would have just yelled bullshit. And, you know, the interview likely would have been cut short. I would never get an interview like that again. And, you know, I think it's important to have people like Mehdi Hasan who are calm, cool, and collected during these interviews, because it's important to see what these politicians say under these kinds of questions. And then at the same time, it's also important to have other people that are just going to go ham on these morons with the awareness that they're not going to get an interview with Joe Lieberman. I know I'm not going to be able to interview Joe Lieberman, but that's fine. We have people like Mehdi Hasan that are able to do it. But it's just, yeah, I could not keep my cool in that interview. It you know, it takes some skill to maintain some kind of civility under those kinds of bullshit answers.